Okay, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. So today I'm gonna do some presentation about cybersecurity threats during the pandemic. So first of all, my name is Ricco Pratama and my student number is 080. So first of all, introduction. So if you think about cyber threats or cyber criminal, it's not happened during the pandemic. It's actually happened, especially on 2020, even during COVID-19. This cyber threats or cyber attack happens because of some individuals taking chains when we use a lot of technologies during the pandemic. As you know that during the pandemic era, we often use our IT device a lot, such as computers, smartphones, and any other else. In their article, Williams Chatterjee and Chakravarty 2020 noted that globally, cybersecurity threats have been estimated to cost about US $6 trillion a year by 2021, and there is a five-fold increase in the number of attacks after COVID-19 has hit the countries. And if you know that there are about 90% of healthcare providers had already suffered from cyber attacks on their data. Companies need their best local network and frequent penetration tests to be done to prevent further more cyber attacks. Most of them, or what kind of cyber attacks that happened during the pandemic era? Well, most of them are scams, and with various types, such as impersonating public authorities like the WHO, supermarkets, airline support platforms, personal protection equipment, and fraudulent claims of cures. So these cyber attacks are impersonating or, mm, turn themselves into some public authorities like WHO, supermarkets, airlines, and any other else. So they're impersonating and making themselves like they are the public authorities. The cyber attacks usually target at general publics, persons from working persons working from home or any specifically vulnerable groups. Method of attacks and impacts were analyzed focusing on UK but applicable across the world. So the method of attacks and impacts were analyzed and it was focused on the UK. But this method and this method can be applicable across the world. So instead of focusing on UK too, but this method of attacks can be used across the world and of course to another country. There are also many global scale attacks too, but the most reported countries comes from China and USA. The success rate of cyber attacks is increasing because of the growing anxiety and the fear of pandemic. Because of us, scared of the news, it makes us feels anxiety and also fear of, the healthcare news, like some of the news, like telling the virus this like that or that. But it, of course, make us fear of it, and we often to search or always look for news or another news. So basically, we are searching for news to make sure that this virus is there any cure for it or not. And this is where these hackers or cyber attacks comes. Phishing and smishing were most prevalent, and followed by hacking, denial of service, and hacking in the order of decreasing frequency. It also some financial frauds and extortion. Well, different methods of tax have been used for different purposes. So there's a lot of methods for the tax, but it's also for different purposes. Well, mm, what methods cybercriminals use? One of the main methods cybercriminals tend to use increasingly is social engineering. What is social engineering? Well, this method consists of manipulating people psychologically to perform some actions leading to revealing some of confidential information. This method can be used to gather information with committing fraud or accessing the central information system. It can be treated as some individual or a group. Cybercriminals target those employees who might not be important for information security of the organization, but sufficient to gain access to it. Well, most of the cybercriminals target some employees, that may not be too much important for the information security or for the nation, but this employee have some access to it. When these individuals are prompted, they might take actions ignoring information security, leading the criminals to access the systems of the organizations. All these other preventive and response mitigation methods are common for normal times also, but the increased threat of cybercrimes during the pandemic renders them. So when these individuals are prompted, their actions can ignore the information security. So it will lead the criminals to access the systems of the organizations. So this employee that don't know anything uh, about what he's doing, and this criminal is already have access to that employee, will use the employee data to access the systems of the organization. He will use the access of that employee. Well, this method usually are normal, like the most common thing to happens. But because of the pandemic, it makes this method uh this method viewable or rendered because it increases the threat of cybercrime. And how to prevent cyber attacks? Well, first of all, be wise and be careful when handling internet for first purposes. Always double check the information that we receive and configure IT device with correctly because of often when we are usually this will happen when people work from home when they have IT device they just use it and not configuring it. Well, it contains risks that it can be hacked or can be accessed by the cyber criminals. So instead of the workplace, if you see the workplace, the IT device is configured so it will be safe to use, but not some of them are safe to use. But it's already configured for the employee by the standard of the companies. But if we are using it from home, it's not configured correctly. So it has risks that will be accessed for from the criminals. So configure IT device correctly and do not panic because of fear and anxiety of the pandemic. Because some of people that fear about the pandemic and feel anxiety, they are hungry for information and they always feeling we need to check the news, we need to check if there's any cure or what's gonna happen recently. It will make us panic, so we will always rush in things for checking news, checking links, or checking any updates. And who knows that updates contain some scam like phishing or any cyber attacks. So we need to stay calm and make sure that we double check it and always stay calm. I think that's all I can say. Thank you for watching.